on?
Well, let's switch it up.
All right, let's switch it up.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert Stevens. I am PwC's Global SAP Leader for Oil and Gas and Chemicals. I have the pleasure of presenting with Glenn Enders today ConocoPhillips' journey to RISE, SAP on RISE. So Glenn, let's take it away.
All right, hi, I'm Glenn Enders. I manage our technology and data team for our what we call Next Gen ERP project as we go through our move to S/4HANA.
I'm going to switch spots with you because the clicker is not working.
Hey, let's go back. So thank you all for coming out and joining us. Recognize it's after lunch, so get comfortable, and we'll try and keep you awake. How's that? So wanted to start with this picture here, and what it shows is two different parts of our ConocoPhillips pathway. So back in 2005, can you go back a slide? It's a teamwork thing. Yeah. Thank you. So back in 2005-ish, as we implemented our ECC system, we were a much different company. Here in 2022, much different company because we've gone through a series of divestitures and acquisitions. And as you can see from an employee stance, a much smaller company. From a countries operated, much smaller company. From a production, actually a larger company. But what I wanted to point out here, the difference between 2005 and 2022 is that we're still on the same ECC system. So what we had as an integrated company, very large, very highly customized footprint, we still have that system today. So we've now started our journey to move towards S/4HANA. Next slide, please. So we had a choice in front of us, much like all of you have. Do you do the upgrade, or do you actually choose to transform? So you all saw the title of this session. You know that we chose to transform. The driver behind that is that the opportunity in front of us was we did not want to just bring over a huge amount of customized code. We did not want to bring over all that legacy operational support burden that the system had. We wanted to bring over new ways of doing business, new ways of driving value, and new transformation opportunities. So our vision, deliver that modern ERP platform, stay as clean core and out of the box as possible, limit any customization, and drive our value for the system through that efficiency that brings to the table. What we put in place was a model and an architecture called Anchored Agility. And on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about how Anchored Agility breaks down our decision process of where to invest and where to focus what our investment should be in the system.
Glenn, before we move from this slide, I think it's important to talk about what Anchored Agility means and how y'all settled on that process.
Oh.
ConocoPhillips brought together their top 120 leaders from across the globe in 2017, late 2017, early 2018. And when they went through a 3-day workshop to settle on Anchored Agility, that was the first step in the change management process for ConocoPhillips. When that team dispatched back to the 17 countries that ConocoPhillips was operating in, they went back with the mantra as we as the business own the Next Gen ERP program. This is not an IT project. To get the transformation that ConocoPhillips wanted, it had to be a business-led, IT-enabled project.
Yep, great point. So with that business leadership, we took an approach looking at how we do business, how our business processes, our business activities, things we were trying to achieve, how do we measure those as far as what is the investment level, what is the technology support level that we want to have for that business process. So you got value for the process and you have the technology for what it takes to run it. So what you see on the slide here, not here, over here, is 3 different categories that we look at things. So first thing is foundational. It's something we all have to do. It's basic business. So it's not an area that you want to overinvest. You want to get it right, get it efficient, keep the costs down, and get it done. On the other end of the spectrum, you have differentiating. These are the areas that if you do it right and you put the value and the investment into it, it can be a game changer for your company. These are the areas that you would invest in additional tools. It may be a place where you do some customization or configuration to get more value out of it. These are the types of things that drive more and more value out of the system, things that we couldn't achieve as much in our old system because of how highly customized it was. So those things in the middle, competitive necessity, these are the kind of things that, done well, can actually give you a competitive edge. So you see at the bottom of the slide, under each column, some of the different examples of how these things play out. And you can think about it in your company. Those things in the foundational category, paying an invoice. You don't have to be stellar, you gotta meet your net terms. But on the differentiating side, how you manage your people and your people information. Maybe it's how you manage capital spend. Maybe it's how you manage integrated planning for your assets and your maintenance turnarounds. Things that can give you better uptime, things that can give you better throughput. Those types of things, that creates that differentiating space. So we use this three-prong model as a way to work with our leadership and go through what are the things our business is trying to achieve and get these labeled. The business owners actually created these categories or tags in these categories. So it wasn't IT saying, hey, invoice processing is keep it simple. It was our invoicing group, our AP group saying, yeah, we just need to block and tackle on that one. So this is transformation. It's not going to come from your IT group out. This is the business ownership as Robert walked through.
From a governance perspective, the left-hand side of this chart, little to no customization. The right-hand side of this chart, little to no customization. Differentiating does not require customization. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some, but as Glenn alluded to, their existing ECC environment has some 8 million lines of custom code in it. So wrap your head around 8 million lines of custom code, 9,700 RISE-F objects, and we're about to go live with less than 2% customization across the program. So making a major IT impact as well. So not only business transformation, but IT transformation, because the cost to operate a simplified ERP environment is a great advantage to ConocoPhillips as well.
Great, Bill. All right, so in this view, really in a matter of just in time, just going to touch on the first three in the upper line. So ConocoPhillips first. So as we're going through this evaluation of these different work efforts and what the investment and what the customization should be, we really had to take in our case, a global viewpoint. We may sub-optimize a local activity to optimize something on a global basis because it has more value for the company on a broader scale. Those are tough decisions, those are tough conversations, and those business leaders having to understand what does it mean to possibly sub-optimize in order to optimize on a bigger scale, that's a challenge. That's part of what our governance that Robert had walked through. That's what we put in place so we can make these hard decisions and make it up front, and that's why our customization level is so low as we're working through this transformation. The why not approach, that's out of the box. If we are going to go clean core, the S4 system has a lot more capability than it did that 20 years ago when we put in ECC. So let's not bring all that custom code over that we filled the gaps in. Let's use what's out of the box now. Why not? So as our businesses work through that scale of differentiating or foundational and where do we want to invest, where do we want to customize, question comes back is, well, here's how it works out of the box. You have to justify why that won't work. And fundamentally is if our vendors can't commercialize the functionality across our industry, and it's in our mindset foundational, you really got to ask why won't it work out of the box? Why would you do that additional investment and that additional burden? That may have been me.
You want to touch on enterprise governance?
Yeah. So enterprise governance. Again, looking at how we make decisions on how the entire system is designed, doing that at the enterprise level. So similar to ConocoPhillips first, but now we're getting into very different assets and looking at what are the commonalities. How can we work these assets the same way for the common functions, common activities, and make sure that the enterprise governance decision-making is driving that clean core, out-of-the-box, ConocoPhillips first, with all the decisions we make in design, and then any, what we call a deviation or custom code that takes us out of clean core.
If you think about the breadth of ConocoPhillips' assets, they range from LNG assets in Australia to assets based on the North Slope in Alaska, and the majority of their production being in the lower 48, with a lot of that being in the Texas Panhandle, the Texas and West Texas. So all of those assets, very different requirements from a maintenance perspective, from a logistics perspective, but we've driven commonality across the program in every area. Just for an example, obviously offshore logistics is a huge piece of the business in Norway, and taking that same thought process around logistics to the lower 48 in the Permian Basin and to the Alaskan North Slope. Not an exact fit, but the base foundational design works across the organization.
Right. So before you, all right, we're there.
I can go back.
No, you can leave it there.
Okay.
So this slide here, this is an example. So as we talked about, taking our business activities, breaking it down into what are those business process parts. And what you see in all the complexity of the color coding and all the icons is how we've taken a view of differentiating competitive necessity or foundational. So if you're taking a picture, it's an example. We didn't give you the secret sauce, but it's a way to come at how you look at all the different process activities. And you see on there life preservers and anchors. So not only are we looking at how are things from an investment, from a development perspective, but then also, as Robert talked about, our different assets around the globe that have different operational needs. The life preserver is something that floats, and the anchor is something that is fixed. And if it's fixed, it's something that we also want to make sure that process is the same globally. If it floats, we're going to want to have, for some reason, some local customization, not customization, but local differences. So like Robert said, we have North Sea offshore. That's going to be much different than West Texas. We have to have some flexibility between those two assets and some of the operational activities, but not all. So that's where float and the life preserver and anchor, float and fix come into play along with this. So this really gives us a powerful way to look at how we're doing our business, how we're designing our system, how we're resetting our baseline for what the transformation is to go forward. And our business leadership are the ones that are aligning to this so that they know when we make a decision, it's based on that input from the business leaders. So it really keeps our technical source, our business source together in full alignment.
And this is an example of 37 or 38 business process maps that we've gone to this level of detail to manage the program. So think finance all the way to human capital. We've gone to this level of detail to manage the program.
All right, so as Robert talked about a little bit earlier, so we've been on this journey for a good 6 years, a little bit more than that. But what you see in the steps here are the things that we've gone through, and what we've already shared is the steps that we've gone through here, 2017 all the way up through 2021, to get us to the point where we can make the choice of our solution and also of our solution integrator. Obviously, PwC is who we've partnered up with. So our selection of SAP and some other tool sets was made in the 21 timeframe, or 20 and 21 timeframe. We have then gone on a rapid pace to get our system stood up, start designing it, start building it, and start testing it. We have our first planned rollout for a Canadian business unit coming up here in August. And one of the things that has helped us move at this pace is our partnership not only with PwC and the resources and the skills that they bring to the table, but then also SAP and our partnership with SAP. So we have a Team One model that all of us come to the table, put your badges aside. We're here to create the best product that we can put on the table for the company. So it doesn't matter if you're SAP, ConocoPhillips, or PwC, we want the best out of everybody. In that model, with SAP, what we've done is we have now moved to a cloud environment, gone from our on-prem old ECC. We've now used SAP RISE and cloud services to get stood up. And that has been a game changer for us to get at this pace to where we could go from a year out to ready to go live with a rollout with a complete cloud environment, multiple tiers in that because you have multiple project paths that have to be worked as you're working through development. And SAP RISE, cloud services, and then also SAP Max Attention are the areas that we tap in with SAP to help bring that expertise into us.
One bullet point on here that I'll call out is mobilizing the team from ConocoPhillips. And it's actually, that has continued to evolve as we've gone across the journey. And just last year, ConocoPhillips made the choice to bring a very senior business leader in to lead the next gen ERP program. So think about a business leader who is an L2 from the CEO, has direct access to the CEO. Richard Lunam, over his last 3 roles, he ran global exploration and production for ConocoPhillips. Then he ran the Concho and Shell integration efforts, which effectively doubled their lower 48 operations over the course of 2021 and into 2022. So having a senior business leader, a senior IT leader like Glenn coming into the program, it gave us the business leader that has the moxie to go head to head with the business unit presidents and those naysayers that may not be all bought into the next gen ERP program and one ConocoPhillips first. But Richard has driven that standardization across the program.
Now, it's a great build, and as we talked about, the model and the approach and the strategy has all been based on this is business transformation. So leading this as an IT project would have given it too much of an IT upgrade feel. So we have complete partnership with our business. Richard was brought in to be a business leader, and like you said, like the moxie part. He's got the role and he's got the rank that he can push on. Are we staying to our true decision criteria that we put in place? So we now have our project team in place. We are partnered with our ECC team. We're partnered within our S4 team with PwC and SAP, and moving this all forward over the course of about an 18-month period. All right, only 15 more slides to go.
Something like that, Glenn.
Last slide. So what this one is really just getting back to that. How are we structured? We have work streams. We have platform teams, which is where our partnership with RISE and cloud services and Max Attention comes into play. And then we have enablement teams, which is really your data conversion. And if anybody here was at the previous presentation with Boston Scientific, heavy message in there around data and data conversion, same story. Data and data conversion is going to be your heavy lift. Building the system is actually very easy. Deconstructing your old system is very complex. So what we have put in place is a two in a box role where we have a PwC and a COP person in every role so that we're getting a good cross-section of input. And in the enablement teams and the platform teams, we also bring in SAP, so we have 3 in a box in that space. So that's our approach to go forward, to have the team be as successful with as much input as possible with our governance structure, our decision structure, all to work within. Robert, anything else?
The only thing I would add is that point around 2 in a box and 3 in a box, as the integrator and working with SAP and working with ConocoPhillips, it's imperative we all check our badges at the door. That doesn't mean we all agree. In fact, if you think about our SAP partner for Glenn and I is Rick Costello, and he's in the back there. We have a lot of disagreements amongst ourselves, but when we come to the unified front, and we come to bring a unified front to the program team to drive the success, and it's all around ConocoPhillips' success. You know, Rick and I, we live by the mantra, we as the SI and the software partner, we have no success until we can stand up on the stage with Glenn and celebrate ConocoPhillips' success. And as you think about your projects, wherever you are in the life cycle, that's the message that you want to get across. Senior leadership from the business, unified team, and the customer success is the only success that matters. So thank you for your time this afternoon. Glenn and I, the last time we did this took about 50 minutes, so sorry that we rushed through in 20 minutes or so, but Glenn and I will be available here to the side if you have individual questions, or we can try to get some time with you at the PwC booth, which is just behind us. So thank you.
Thank you all.